up, YouTube? I am your host, Mediocre tutorials and reviews. Back in here with one more video. Today's conversation is absolutely needed. Now listen, why is it important? Why is it impactful? I said a week ago when this gentleman originally went viral on the Pop the Balloon dating show that the conversation that was coming as an output of him being on that show is one of the most important conversations that we've had in the past several months, if not the past year. Why is that? The way that he was behaving, the output of that was a lot of people labeling that as sassy. Sassy? Because I saw it, and a lot of men saw it, as a man defending himself.
Spartans! What is your profession?
But what did I say within that video is that if you're a masculine man and you choose to defend yourself, you must be ready for the outlash that comes after that. Mainstream media today has proven decade after decade that they are not used to men standing up for themselves. So at the point that a man stands up for himself, live and direct, in front of your face, slaps back, it gets met with ire from both men and women alike. Now, the conversation has turned from a internet topic and it's now diving down deep into, did y'all really go out your way to destroy this man's career? I think that it's absolutely disgusting. I think that it's absolutely deplorable that the way that he conducted himself on that show made you so angry, enhanced your bitter so much that you went out of your way and called his job an uncountable amount of time. First, y'all doxed him, then called his job an uncountable amount of times in order to hurt him, in order to take food out of his mouth, money off of the table, away from him and as well as the family that he supports. Now, was his behavior like, would I have done the same things? No, but he's one man and I'm another. Are there things that could have been improved? Let's talk to him and ask. Are there things that he needs to be held accountable for? Let's talk to him and ask him. But as I said earlier, it's turned into a canceling. And now, as he's going to describe, it's got even worse than that because even his job as a certified plumber, him being a plumber in general, going into the future is now up for interpretation because of new allegations against him that essentially he's a creep.
Accusations! These are not accusations. This is false accusations.
But you guys already know what time it is. The man of the hour.
Hey, what's going on? You just did me a favor by tapping in with the one and only Aaron, the world famous plumber. Now, I'm not world famous, but I'm trying to be.
My G, first off, salute to you, for answering, the call when I hit you up. At first, it took you a little second to get a hold of my message. I'm like, damn, do I got hairy arms or some shit? Like, why is this guy not, he's not responding to me?
My DMs was flooded like crazy. I had to find, but I seen it the first time that you messaged it because I recognized your name, but it was just flooded. But everybody, hey, shout out to everybody that tagged you and they told me that you wanted to reach out to me. So that was a blessing in disguise as well. Thank y'all.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I think that it's very needed. And I said it multiple times within the video that I wanted to have a conversation with you to ensure that we can continue on building. And a lot more sinister things have happened since then, and we're going to get into it. And let me say this for everyone that's watching right now, as well as the audience. Aaron told me before we got started, he said, you can ask anything. And y'all already know, I'm going to ask the good as well as the bad. We're going to hold his feet to the fire, but we want the answers. Right, Aaron?
Yep.
He said, bring it on.
Come on. Let's get this out the way.
I thought he was up in the DM talking about I was not qualified. Oh, brother. So before we get started, and I know you referred to yourself as Aaron before, you have a multitude of names, right?
Yeah.
I've heard Aaron. I've heard Weapon X. I heard the balloon pop guy. There's some trolls on the internet calling you Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles. What do you want to be known and go by?
Weapon X. I like that name that they gave me.
Is that your fitness name?
Nah, it's not my fitness name, but as fitness overall, just call me Aaron. But if you want to joke or something, you see me out, hey, Weapon X, because you seen my comedy skit that I did, then it's fine with me. I wouldn't be upset at all.
Yeah, we're going to bring that up here in a quick second as well. So also, too, this is you going viral on that Pop the Balloon. It's your first foray with being on the internet itself. So within that being stated, there's no information about you. So there's a lot of people that are saying a lot of different things, making up information. So I wanted to start at the beginning first. Can you talk through your home life? What was that like? Were you in a 2-parent household, brothers and sisters? You could just describe that.
I'm from Stockton, California. Is where I was born. And I grew up in Sacramento, California. Throughout my I grew up in a single-parent household. My mother raised us. It was 5. I'm the oldest. I have 3 sisters and 1 brother. And my childhood, it was rough, honestly. By the grace of God, I was fortunate enough to have 2 grandparents. And if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be alive to this day. My grandfather was a computer engineer for NASA, and he was well off, and he took very good care of us. My mother, she was addicted to crystal methamphetamine, probably since I was, 1 years old. And shout out to my mom.
Is your mom in your life currently?
Yes. Shout out to my mom, because trying not to get emotional.
Yeah,
But,
I was looking at your shirt too. Your mom didn't raise no dummy.
Yeah, shout out to mom. My mom been clean for 2 years now, and I'm very proud of my mom for that.
And what about your father?
My father, he's not really in my life. I don't really speak with him very much. But he played a role later on as I got older, and we can shed a little more light on that. Yeah, my father came into my life as I got older. Sorry about that, you guys. It's been crazy. So many people just calling me, texting me. It's ridiculous, but sorry. Yeah, I grew up in Stockton, Sacramento, man. I bounced all around.
So you were on your father. So how's your father's role been within your life?
My father, he came around when I was older, but I had a different perception of life due to what my mother installed in me about him. My father tried to be active in my life. He did everything within the court system, and my mother put nothing but negativity inside of me and made me believe, my father was a negative person. So as I got older,
Is there a do not disturb on the phone, brother?
Yeah. Turn my phone off, please. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you good, bro.
Where was I at?
I believe that we left off on just speaking about your father, impact within your life after. So I guess at what point in your life did you realize that your mother had poisoned your mind against your father in order, I guess, to just not allow you to have contact with him?
I honestly didn't realize it until I became a man. And probably when I was like 20, in my 20s, maybe or so, I used to despise my father, because he would try to instill discipline in me. My father taught me how to build a house. I was a carpenter's apprentice when I was like 15. And my father did everything he could to instill discipline in me because he has a similar story to mine. And he knew, exactly how the story would play out and did everything he could to keep me out of the lifestyle. But I was too infatuated with it. And I made my own decisions to be a part of this lifestyle.
Okay. And by this lifestyle, you were gang affiliated at a certain point, and you had a criminal history, which we're going to get into as well. So,
yes, sir.
So within that being said, so what I'm hearing is, you had some siblings. Your father was not in your life, but, and sadly was manipulated out of your life. And what's crazy is that, I do mentorship with men behind scenes. And what I always tell men on the channel is that no matter what your relationship with that is with your father, you should always attempt to reach out to him, because you just never know their side of the story or the things that have been implanted within your mind, unbeknownst to you, that is not allowing you to have a strong relationship with him. But would you say, would that be the leading contributing factor, your father not being there, or you having a strong relationship with him, as to how you got off the rails and fell down into a life of criminality?
My mother's drug addiction is what played a big part in it. My grandmother and my grandfather, they were well off, and they were my mother's enablers, so they would always give my mother large quantities of money. And instead of, taking care of her responsibilities, she would squander it on whatever she, wanted to do. And I started going to jail, juvenile hall, probably, getting placed in handcuffs, probably about 8 or 9 years old. I was what I call what's known as a crash dummy. I was hanging out with guys that were 16, 17 years old, dropped out of high school. My mother, when my grandparents would get upset with my mother, they would cut off her money, and we would suffer. We wouldn't have. I remember that if my sisters are watching this, they'll comment down and let them know this is not no joke. You know, it was times where it was just a jar of peanut butter inside of the refrigerator and we don't have nothing to eat. My sisters is crying, you know, and they fathers is not around. My dad's not around. No man is stepping up to the plate. Well, you know, I had to be the man at a young age. I had to protect my sisters. So the older guys, they taught me how to burglarize homes. It started off with, you know, small burglaries. And as I got older, you know, I progressed to more serious crimes, I would say.
And did you finish high school?
I did not finish high school. I was hustling around, you know, graduation. I had a lot of money. So I really didn't care for school, but I ended up getting my GED and I got my GED in prison, you know, and I got it out on the streets and ended up going to college for plumbing for a while. And I was just having discrepancies, maintaining employment and going to college at the same time. A lot of employers, they want you on the job site, you know, as much as possible. They don't care about furthering your skills.
Okay. Right. So, so you began small into this lifestyle of, you know, gang life, criminality. And I guess, how did it progress? So you first started to robbing, and how did it progress into? Are you willing to go into your criminal history? How long you've been locked up?
Yeah, I did 5 years in prison. What they were saying is pretty accurate. You know, the final boss, that's how I was in prison. No nonsense type of guy. Hey, if you was incarcerated with me, and we're not trying to shine any light on, you know, incarceration, unless we're talking about decreasing the recidivism rates, then we can talk about that. But when I was in prison, I was no nonsense. I want to fight everybody. I was mad at the world, but honestly, going to prison was the best thing that ever happened to me, because now I'm a firm believer that isolation, it enhances your elevation, you know, because I was isolated from the world while everybody was doing COVID. You know, I was doing COVID times 2 on a plantation, a dangerous plantation at that. So in prison, my first 3 years, you'll see, we'll show the write-ups and stuff. I didn't have any understanding. I was mad at the world. I didn't have any family support whatsoever. I didn't have any contact with the outside world. So all I wanted to do was work out and, you know, engage in a good old fisticuff. But it wasn't until I had read a book and they were talking about Geronimo Pratt, and I had read about COINTELPRO, you know, the counterintelligence program J. Edgar Hoover started, used to suppress Black organizations. Now, once I read about that, and I'm reading about tribalism and about how the government infiltrated these organizations, you know, these gangs didn't originally start off as gangs. They were just trying to protect their communities. So the government infiltrated, you know, these organizations and turned them against each other. You know, the Bloods and Crips were united at one point in time. So I began to ponder at night, like, man, you know, I'm over here attacking these men, and the oppressors are the ones that infiltrated a establishment that was promoting a just cause and turned it into something evil. I was like, man, how could I contribute to this moving forward, you know, knowing this? And I was still interact with, you know, some of those individuals, but in my heart, deep down, I knew, I was like, man, this isn't me. It's not. I knew I had a greater purpose. I knew God had a calling on my life. I just didn't know for what, you know. And when I was gangbanging, I was trying to find myself, you know. And I heard ample stories of, you know, my father when he went through a similar situation. So I'm trying to live up to his name. And I really didn't have to do that.
Questions, comments, concerns. Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. Until next time, YouTube. Peace.